It was an ordinary morning in the quiet little town. The sun was rising over the horizon, casting soft golden light over the small garden where three young kittens played. The air smelled fresh, and the birds chirped merrily from the trees. Whiskers, the brave kitten with bright green eyes, raced across the grass, her tiny paws leaving soft imprints behind her. Tails, the smaller, more cautious kitten, watched from the shade of a tree, her fluffy tail twitching nervously as she surveyed the area. Paws, the energetic one, was already rolling around, chasing his own tail, lost in his world of play. Everything seemed peaceful. Everything seemed normal. But then, something changed. It was the slightest thing, a soft rustling in the grass. Whiskers, who had been chasing a butterfly near the edge of the garden, paused. Her sharp green eyes darted toward the movement, but she saw nothing. She blinked and looked around, trying to push away the strange feeling settling in her chest. The breeze shifted, sending a chill through the air that made her fur stand on end. "Tails, did you hear that?" Whiskers called out, her voice low and worried. Tails froze in place, her body stiff with caution. She had heard it too. The rustling wasn't just the wind. Something was moving, something that didn't belong. I don't know, Whiskers. I don't like this." Paws, oblivious to the strange tension building, continued to chase a fallen leaf around the garden, giggling as he batted it with his tiny paws. But even he couldn't escape the sudden shift in the atmosphere. He stopped and looked around, his bright eyes wide. "What's wrong? You guys look like you've seen a ghost." Whisker's gaze was fixed on the tall grass at the edge of the garden. Something was there, moving slowly. It wasn't an animal, not a bird or a squirrel. No, this was something different, something strange. The kitten's curiosity got the best of them, and slowly they moved toward the source of the noise. The grass parted as they pushed through, but the closer they got, the more unsettled they became. They could hear it now, a soft, eerie hiss, like something alive was waiting for them in the shadows. Tails felt her heart race, her fur prickled with fear. "I don't like this. Whiskers, let's go back." But Whiskers, always the brave one, didn't turn back. She had to know what was out there. "We have to see what it is," she said firmly, her voice shaking slightly. She stepped forward, her paws quiet on the ground, while Tails and Paws followed hesitantly behind. The rustling continued, now louder and clearer. It wasn't just a breeze. It was something moving, something that shouldn't be there. Whisker's heart began to pound faster as they reached the edge of the garden, where the grass grew taller and thicker. Suddenly, from the depths of the grass, a small black creature darted out. It was so fast, so small, that the kittens barely had time to react. It slithered across the ground, leaving a strange trail behind it. Its body was covered in an almost glowing slime, and its tiny legs seemed to move in an unnatural way. The kittens froze, their eyes wide with shock. Whiskers took a step back. "What in the world is that?" Paws, always the curious one, stepped forward. "It looks like a bug, but it's not normal." His voice was trembling slightly, and his usual cheerfulness was gone, replaced by a hint of fear. Tails' voice was barely a whisper. It's glowing. It's like nothing I've ever seen." The tiny creature turned to face them, its eyes glowing like little dots of fire. It hissed, its sharp teeth visible for a split second before it quickly darted back into the grass, disappearing as quickly as it had appeared. The three kittens stood in stunned silence for a moment, unsure of what they had just witnessed. Then, slowly, Whiskers turned to the others, her face pale. "I don't know what that was, but I don't think it was just a bug. That thing wasn't normal." Tails nodded, her heart pounding. "I don't like this. There's something wrong about it." Paws looked around nervously. "Do you think it's dangerous?" Before Whiskers could answer, there was a sudden movement in the grass again. This time, more creatures appeared, small, glowing, and moving at an incredible speed. They crawled through the blades of grass, disappearing and reappearing in an instant. The kitten's eyes grew wider as they realized there were more of them, many more. The strange creatures seemed to be everywhere, all around them, crawling across the ground, sticking to the trees, and even climbing the fence. It felt like the whole world was shifting. Something unnatural was happening, and the kittens were at the center of it. Whisker's fur stood on end. "We need to leave. Now." But as she turned to run, one of the creatures leaped at her, landing on her paw. It was so fast that she barely had time to react. It felt cold, slimy, and its sharp legs dug into her skin. Whiskers screamed, shaking her paw violently. "Get it off! Get it off!" Paws and Tails rushed over to help, but the creatures were everywhere now, crawling over the kittens, trying to cling to their fur. The glowing parasites were fast, relentless, and everywhere. Tails looked around, panicked. What are these things? Why are they on us? What are they doing? Whisker's mind raced. She knew this wasn't just an ordinary attack. There was something far more dangerous happening here, something they didn't understand. The creatures were spreading, and they had no idea what would happen next. But one thing was clear: this was just the beginning. The kittens scrambled away from the creatures, their hearts racing as fear gripped them. Whiskers led the way, her paws pounding the ground, her thoughts spinning. They had never seen anything like this before. What were those strange glowing creatures? Why were they attacking? And most importantly, how could they escape? Paws, his fur matted with the slimy residue the creatures left behind, looked up at Whiskers. "We have to get out of here, now," he cried, his voice shaking with panic. Whiskers didn't respond right away. Her mind was racing. Her green eyes darted around, searching for some kind of escape. The park they'd always known and loved now felt like a dangerous, foreign place. The once friendly grass was now filled with strange, glowing parasites crawling across every surface. The trees, which had always provided them with shade, now seemed dark and menacing. Tails, who had been quiet and nervous since the attack began, looked up at Whiskers. "Where are we supposed to go? They're everywhere. We can't outrun them." Her voice trembled, and she flicked her tail in fear. Whiskers took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. She had to think clearly. "We need to find a place to hide, somewhere safe. Maybe there's a way to stop these things." But as she spoke, the creatures seemed to sense their fear. They were closing in on them from all sides, their glowing eyes following every movement. The kittens' escape seemed more impossible with each passing second. Whiskers turned to see if they could make it to the trees on the far side of the park. She spotted a thick bush near the edge, a place they might be able to hide. Without thinking twice, she bolted toward it, Tails and Paws following behind. As they reached the bush, Whiskers stopped dead in her tracks. The air felt different now. It was thick, heavy with an unnatural chill. The rustling of leaves around them seemed louder, as if something was pushing through the underbrush. And then, there it was again, a strange, hissing sound, like the one they had heard earlier. The kittens froze, their hearts pounding in their chests. But this time, it was different. This time, the sound was closer. Whiskers' eyes widened. "It's coming from behind us," she hissed, panic creeping into her voice. Before they could turn around, something shot out from the shadows. A slimy, glowing creature launched itself from the ground, landing on Paw's back. He gulped in surprise, but the parasite didn't let go. It dug deeper into his fur, sticking there like a magnet. "Help!" Paws screamed, struggling to shake it off, but the parasite was too strong. It hissed angrily as it burrowed into his fur, its tiny sharp legs gripping tightly. Tails rushed to his side. "Hold still, Paws," she cried, but the creature seemed impossible to remove. It wasn't just stuck to him, it was digging deeper into his skin. "It's like it's inside him," she whispered, horrified. Whiskers didn't wait to think. She sprang forward and tried to pull the creature off with her teeth, but it wouldn't budge. It felt as though it had become one with Paws, attached to him like a leech. The kittens' hearts raced with fear as more and more creatures appeared. They were surrounded, trapped, and no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't escape the grip of the strange parasites. Just then, from behind them, they heard another voice, one that didn't belong to any of them. "Stop," the voice commanded, and the kittens turned to see a figure emerge from the shadows. It was an older cat, taller than Whiskers, with sleek, silvery fur that shone even in the dim light. Her eyes were a deep, knowing green, and her gaze was sharp and focused. She moved swiftly toward the kittens, her paws making no sound as she approached. "Who are you?" Whiskers asked, trying to stay calm, though her voice trembled with uncertainty. "I'm Luna," the cat answered, her voice soft but firm. "And I know what's happening here." Luna stepped closer, her eyes fixed on the parasites still clinging to Paw's back. "You're in grave danger," she said. "These creatures are not of this world. They are alien parasites, brought here by something far more dangerous than you realize." The kittens exchanged worried glances. Alien parasites. Tails repeated, her voice full of disbelief. "But how? Why are they here? What do they want with us?" Luna's eyes darkened. "They feed on the energy of living creatures, drawing strength from their life force. And once they've attached themselves to you, they'll stop at nothing to control you. If you let them stay inside you too long, they'll control your every move. You'll become their puppet." Whiskers shook her head in confusion. "How do you know all this? And how do we stop them?" Luna's gaze softened with sympathy. "I've seen this before. The creatures are linked to an ancient force, a power buried deep beneath this park. It's where they come from, and it's the only place that can stop them. But it's dangerous, very dangerous." Paws, who was still struggling against the parasite, looked up at Luna with pleading eyes. "Please, can you help us? We can't keep fighting them. They're too strong." Luna nodded, her expression serious. "I can help. But first, you need to follow me. I know where we can find the source of these creatures. If we destroy it, we can stop them once and for all. But be warned, it won't be easy. There will be danger every step of the way. And I can't promise you'll all make it out alive." The kittens stared at Luna in silence. They knew they had no choice but to follow her. The creatures were everywhere, and there was no escaping the terror they had brought with them. It was the only way. Whiskers nodded slowly, determination growing in her chest. "We'll do whatever it takes. Let's go." And with that, they began their journey into the unknown, toward the dark, dangerous heart of the park, where the true source of the alien parasites lay. This part adds to the mystery and suspense, building toward a solution while keeping the audience engaged with emotion, fear, and curiosity. Let me know if you'd like to adjust any details. You said, "If the story complete," ChatGPT said. ChatGPT. "The story isn't fully complete yet. I can certainly help you wrap it up. We can build on the suspense, the kitten's journey, and how they confront the alien parasites to give the story a satisfying conclusion. Here's how we could continue the story to complete it. Part 3. The final confrontation. The kittens followed Luna, their tiny paws making soft sounds on the ground, their hearts pounding with fear and excitement. Every step took them deeper into the park, where the air grew colder and the trees twisted in strange shapes. The glowing parasites seemed to be watching them from every direction, crawling along the fences and the grass, waiting for the right moment to strike. Whiskers could feel their eyes on her, the air heavy with danger. Luna led them to a dark, hidden corner of the park that they had never seen before. The ground here was uneven, filled with deep cracks, and the trees loomed over them like giants. A strange humming sound echoed through the air, sending chills down the kittens' spines. "This is it," Luna said, her voice low and serious. "This is where it all began. The source of the parasites is buried right beneath us." Whiskers felt a knot in her stomach. "How do we stop it?" Luna's eyes glowed in the darkness. "We need to destroy the source, But it's not easy. The creatures are drawn to it, and they'll do everything they can to stop us. If we fail, they'll take over this entire park and beyond." Before Whiskers could ask more questions, the ground beneath them rumbled. The trees shook, and the glowing creatures appeared from the shadows, their eyes shining like fire. They were not just swarming, they were charging. "We don't have much time," Luna shouted. "We need to get to the center and destroy the power source before it's